Shiva Shukla, on behalf of Bharat Biz Talk, welcome you all in this webinar on after effects of pandemic on economy. Today for this discussion, we have Mr. Ashok Sinha. He is a director marketing and sales at GrabbnGo. Prior to that, he was with Future Group as vice president, small retail format. Mr. Gaurav Bhushan Sharma, he is an IIM alumni and was with Paytm as Vice President Marketing with from 2014 to 2019. Now he has dedicated his complete time towards his startup. Dr.Ashish Saurikia is with ELCINA from last 7 years. In policy advocacy with electronic industry, he played instrumental role in the formation of national policy on electronic 2019. And Mr. Ellen Selvaraj, he is an ISB alumni and Six Sigma Green Belt certified and a faculty member in various institutions, to name a few: IIM, DY Patil, etc. Now I hand over to Mr. Ellen Selvaraj, who will moderate the entire discussion today. Welcome you, sir. Hello. Ellen, sir, are you there?
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Aaron, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry, there was sudden rains here, and the internet is a bit affected because of the rains here. Okay. So I missed the introduction, but anyways, I think we should start off with this. So basically, we have come to an economic situation which I think none of us has ever seen before, and that is just because of a pandemic. So today's discussion forum, we are going to discuss in terms of what this means for a few industries, and we have in our panel experts in multiple industries. So, what is the effect that the whole pandemic situation has done for the industry, and then we will discuss as to what are the next in terms of their views in terms of what should be done by the SMEs. I mean, to stay much more relevant in this whole after effects of the COVID-19. Okay, so the first I would like to ask to Dr. Ashish in terms of if we can describe the effect that this COVID-19 has had on the electronic industry, and how SMEs can actually come out of it. So that is the first question that I had from the electronic industry, because he is one of the experts in the electronic manufacturing industry. So Dr. Ashish, if you can maybe throw some light on it, it will be great for the panel.
Right. Hello. Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah, you are, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Am I clearly audible?
Yeah, you're audible, sir.
Okay. So just a minute. I believe my video is not working. Means it
Hello,
is
Dr.
on the.
Ashish?
Yes. I believe my video is not working.
Yeah, you're audible. Yeah, you're audible now, sir.
Okay. So if you look after me on the lines of what exactly is going to happen after this COVID-19 lockdown, we need to understand that what exactly is happening in the electronic industry, which is also happening across the industry, barring few. Means once we discuss about manufacturing, the other sector is services. As far as manufacturing is concerned, you know that India, in comparison with its neighboring countries or competing countries, faces a disability of around 10%. That is miserable. 10%. Why I am saying this? Disability of 10%. First, what happens? Our cost of finance in India is too high. Our commercial borrowings is at around 12%, whereas the same commercial borrowings are at 3 to 4%. Secondly, the cost of power and cost of logistics. These are some of the factors which are driving our economy and which are giving us a status whatever we are having today. These factors will also give impact post COVID-19. But one thing is very clear, that initially people after having with the US-China trade war, the business fraternity had a policy of China plus one, means you cannot leave China. There are multiple reasons behind that, and we all know that. Now there's another policy, that is ABC. That rather than policy, it's a strategy, that anything but China. And in case we consider a state where we are saying anything in China but China, we need to understand from where your inputs are coming as far as manufacturing is concerned. This is applicable for electronic industry, this is applicable for textile industry, for medicine, drugs, even steels, almost everything. The cost advantage they have, the economy of scale they have. So at every place they have some Apurva, there is some video problem. I have got a request to switch on my video, and I have actually switched it on, but no problem. Okay. So post COVID-19, the same factors will also drive the manufacturing. If we say that anything but China, we need to understand that throughout the value chain and across the sectors, the competence, the dominance which China enjoys, no one enjoys. No first world country, neither none of the European countries, none of the even US don't have it, even Russia don't have it. So barring China entering into the scene is seems to be next to the impossible. But what we can do, we can have a China plus one strategy. As of now, for electronic industry, if we discuss about simply your LED TVs, about your laptops, what is happening? Whole of the components and the inputs for the manufacture of those components are manufactured in China. And China is world's factory. If you want to replace it, that is a big issue. Post COVID, what is going to happen? Broadly, we can say that we need to shed our dependence on one country, and we need to think about other countries also. The only advantage that China has is the cost. And as of now, if you study the cost during this lockdown period, we need to understand that this is an additional cost, and this cost is something which may be distributed across maybe for next 10 years or 5 years. That way we can compensate the cost, means additional cost. Post COVID-19, you may source most of your value chain items maybe from Vietnam, since most of the countries are companies are going from China to Vietnam. Why Vietnam? There is a discussion wherein Indo-US Chamber of Commerce used to say that 200 companies from China are coming to India. This discussion was also there when US China trade war was there. But we do not say, at least in our sector and none in textile sector, no US company came to India. They rather went to Vietnam, they rather went to Malaysia, to Thailand. And what are the reasons? We are less sure. But this is one thing is very sure, that Vietnam is also a communist country, little autocratic in nature. Labor laws are very flexible, land laws are very flexible, and the incentives they are giving, there also means something which cannot be offered in India. They are giving 0% means direct tax exemption for 5 years, which may be extended to 10 years. So how means we have done cut down our corporate tax to 15%. Even then, since last 6 months, we have not received even a single substantial investment in the sector. So that way also, I am less sure whether in case of manufacturing, India is going to have an upper hand post COVID-19 also. But discussion in India are very optimistic. So we are waiting for something that what may be done. But this thing is very sure now. Government will incentivize the MSMEs to even larger companies to invest in India. There may be domestic investment, may see some ray of hope. International investments may see. But as of now, I tell you, this is too early to think the course of action which multinational big giants will follow, which even MSMEs will follow, who are under tremendous pressure to pay the salaries of April 2020, wherein no productivity has taken place, and wherein government is also not promised any type of financial investment incentive to the sector. So as of now, things are very unclear. Maybe in processes, in retail, in services,
Okay,
some
Dr. Ashish,
strategies as we
thanks.
come out. Hello.
Sure, sure. Yeah, we are able to hear you, sir. So I
Right.
think that's a good start in terms of how the manufacturing situation would be. So we have got another expert with us, Ashok sir, who actually is an expert in retail FMCG sector. So while we have seen one manufacturing, the other big component in India is services. So I would like to just pass on this to Ashok sir and get his take on the whole effect of COVID-19 in the Indian retail and FMCG sector.
Hi, good evening. Okay, firstly, we need to understand that the world has changed, completely. COVID-19 has, in fact, changed the way we are going to live and the way we are going to think. Uh, Even after the lockdown, everything is lifted, social distancing, whatever we are maintaining, if you have gone to a certain level, it will settle down slightly lower, but it's going to still remain. So the way we think, the way regarding retail, yes, I think retail, when I say retail as a whole, is going to be impacted very badly. It is being impacted. When I take the malls, people will be very hesitant to go to places which are crowded, and the malls, and shop inside the malls, and they will prefer rather online shopping for time being. It's not to say that the malls and all also have to take certain steps which will ensure and give the confidence to the people that yes, we are safe out here, but that will take some time. It will not be easy. It will not be something which the consumers will easily go and to a mall shop. So not do that. Secondly, even shopping will remain to basically essentials. Um, the online, even in online today, if you see Amazon is affected in India because they are hardly able to supply, because only essential items they are supplying, and they were very small in essential items. Now, post-COVID, I feel that even in online, though they will flourish, but the people will get slightly more demanding. Today, what is happening is, and once you're getting your basic items during the lockdown period, people are quite satisfied and happy. But once the lockdown is taken off, the people will be more demanding as to what is the safety measures that are being maintained by all these people. So in my scenario, retail will take some time. It will people will be only buying basics, and this they will get it online. They will not like to go and shop, though the retail stores and will obviously. I'm quite sure try to make their own measures, but for me, I think it's a long term. It might take them maybe more than 8-9 months to revive. Otherwise, I don't think it will come up. Online will take shorter time. Basically, from the essential, people will buy some other items, but for time being, people will not be spending much on other items as such. Having said that, I feel that the way even the consumers as well as the uh, on the other side, the business people, the way they adapt to the new scenario is very important, and how fast they adapt, and they are able to change their mind, the way they look at business, the way they do business. This is going to be very, very important. And the time will come, and the time has come where it will not be the time, it is not a time that where the survival is for the fittest, for the quickest. The people who are going to adapt very fast to the new scenario, the new way the life is changing, uh, and come out with certain new measures which will give confidence to consumers uh, that yes, you can come and freely shop out here. I think that is very, very important. Uh, Many of the items which are beyond the essentials, as I said, for the FMCG companies, they will, if I put it as kind of semi-luxury, luxury, those will not be taking off for my, as far as I think it will take a lot of time for them to take off. So people have to
Okay.
change. And I think the survival is for the quickest. People who are going to adapt to these changes and come out with solutions. I think they'll be the winners. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, sir. So basically, survival of the quickest is the new mantra that will be post COVID. That's what we understand the retail sector.
Yeah.
So a sector which actually connects all this, that is the manufacturing, services and all, is essentially the financial sector. And we have an expert with us, Mr. Gaurav, who has been in the fintech and all, and he also is an expert in the education sector. So I was just reading a report in terms of what demonetization was to the wallet company, the COVID situation is to the ed tech companies, because I think they are taking off in terms of the new tech, and I think many of them have adapted. So, Gaur, maybe a quick view on your take on the financial and the education sector in essential, and will the fintech sector and the financials will be coping up with all this, the requirement of the SMEs to provide it to the, get there, because I think financially economy is going through a very rough phase.
Right. Good evening. Can you hear me, guys? First of all.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
We
sure.
are able to hear you. Yeah. Go on.
So I will start with something positive. I think that's the education sector, right? While the truth is, as correctly pointed out by panelists before me, as this point of time when the economy is, when people are uncertain more than anything else what's going to happen, right? The spend on anything non-essential is going to decrease, right? Even when the lockdown opens up, they will try to save cash. But here the difference is in the education sector. If you look at the enrollments in education sector, both in terms of on the online companies, which are in K-12, so education sector can be divided into multiple segments. One is K-12, right, so the school education, right? You already have seen schools moving online through Zoom classes. The K-12, then there is something like place like Beju and all, which have opened up, in fact, their classes to free so that more users could come up. Across India, even before China, because we have more data from China, all the edtech companies saw a spike of roughly the number of users going from twice to thrice of their pre-COVID era. Even in India, people don't really have to educate their child. Their child are in their home. They are actually working from home right now. They have to be engaged. First of all, they have to be engaged, and they want them to learn something. They have to try multiple things. So at least in K-12, again, we have seen a huge jump in that. This will continue post lockdown also, because at least in case of kids, people will be really, really wary of sending them to tuitions in any point of time. So I think this is going to stay for some time until a vaccine is there or something like that comes up. But I don't see offline education coming back to its life for some time to come. And this is a demonetization movement, anything more than a demonetization movement for the edtech sector, because people will experience this and they will understand the benefit of it. And if you look at the psyche of a parent, they have now, 1 year down the line, if the vaccine is there, we all have come out of COVID, they will still have this fear in the mind, okay, interacting with other children somehow can also lead to diseases, right? So I think, and if they have a viable options, then I think edtech companies have about 6 to 12 months of a period to iron out the issues. There are a lot of issues in terms of the delivery and expectation they have, but they can really give offline tuitions a run for the money. Not that they're going to go away in some sense, but this is a great moment for them. If you look at, again, from the sector in terms of test prep and again, professional learning part of it, again, if you look at people at Simplilearn, Great Learning, again, in terms of their enrollment has gone through the roof. They are even paid customer have gone really high. At least in K-12, they are trying to bring in more free customers where they are going high. Again, people have to study. So that's going to study. There will be a challenge again, what happens post I think COVID. Again, you hear the stories of quota students in quota star trying to come back home. These are stories that are going to stay, right? People really, really, really value their kids' life. I think it's a moment purely from an edtech sector. It's a moment which they could have really hoped upon. Are they prepared for it? When the demonetization movement happened, there were many players in the industry. Only one of them were prepared enough in terms of the funds and people, and they were able to catch on to it. Whether that's how it is, right? So, but edtech is slightly more complex that way. It's huge, and there are so many areas where you're looking at. So I think it's an amazing moment. While this is really, really tricky times for the world at large, there's no doubt about it. But if you are an edtech founder as of now, you are kind of happy with the situation as of now. And this thing stays, I think, unless forget about lockdown, right? Unless and until there is a vaccine to it or something, or some medicine coming out of it, I think I don't see people spending a lot of time, at least on the tuitions, another part of it. Coming back to the
So
fintech.
just a moment to interrupt you. I think somebody has a question for you.
Okay.
Just a moment. Prateek, I think there was a question.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have a question for Gaurav. Gaurav, by and large, you said that education tech is going to be a next revolution. By and large,
I don't say that. I'm just saying this is a good opportunity for them.
opportunity for them, of course. And as market, we have seen that Baiju's become a unicorn, an Indian company who became a unicorn. And how do you see a small player, a small app person who is developing an app in Delhi and NCR, how they'll get a funding now? Because India has made some laws against the FDI, and nearby areas. Earlier, China was one of the biggest investor in India. How do you see that?
Okay, so first of all, it's a funding question, but still I will answer it based on whatever information I have. The truth is, if you are an upcoming small startup, you are looking for a seed round or a Series A round. Most of these rounds were anyway being done by the local investor. Chinese investors, the big Chinese investor, as we know them, used to come in the growth rounds. the truth is they might still be interested in it, but I think the seed round and Series A, it will be difficult to raise money in most of them because they want to retain money for the existing startups. Having said that, there's still chance in raising money in tech part. But again, you will have to find a niche, right? If you are, so the question had multi-layered to it, that there is a Beju's of the world in this space. How, if I come to it, I think so. It's a rather detailed question, but I will say if you find a niche for it, if you're net tech, you can still give it a shot. Overall, from a funding perspective, again, as I mentioned, this overall this is not the great time for the world at large.
While yeah, so that one part of it. And Ashok sir, I just wanted to ask you. You said that retail maybe a 6 month or an 8 month they will come back on the track. Uh, is that like you say that e-commerce is the next next big thing which gonna happen? So most of the people are going to be online, just shopping, and not much of the retail sector.
See, when I say retail, Pratik, I was mentioning about the entire retail as such. And when we go shopping let's take a mall, and where there are so many outlets which are not only food outlets, but there are other outlets plus a food court plus a cinema. So the entire thing is the entire retail which we were talking about uh, is really, that kind of retail is really going to be badly affected. And it is not going to be easy but no one is going to go to a cinema hall right now because of social distancing. Uh, so now the question is, e-commerce actually was obviously, the Indians are quite familiar with e-commerce and they have been using it. I think it's very popular. And I think with this COVID-19, many people have been forced to get into e-commerce. E-commerce also, the essential items will remain. And as I said, the people, they have a large portfolio, but the other items which the non-essential items, the demand obviously for time being will not be there so much, because people would like to wait and watch. They would like to keep their money safe, because there's been, in just first few days, only around 47 million jobs were lost in US. And I think the worst industry which has been affected is the job industry. So people would like to save their money and look at essentials. And e-commerce obviously will flourish. And I feel people will find it more safer to order online rather than to go out and do shopping or go to any of the malls. I don't even know. Obviously, I'm not saying that these malls and all will not be springing back. They have to look at new ideas in the way because the world has changed. Everyone has to change the way we do business. So they will have to think of some ways, and I'm quite sure that they will come back, because obviously some of the industries or some of the shops out there might die, because they won't have any income coming in, and they'll have to close down because of the high uh, uh, rentals they have to pay. Similarly, like we deal in airport right now, and on an airport also, many of the outlets, they were just being able to pay the minimum guarantee. Now with the high rental in the airport, all the retails which are inside the airport will start dying, because there'll be no passengers as such. There'll be very little passengers. So I see that the online will pick up. People will hesitate to go and shop in other kind of retail, and it will take time. For me, it depends on how they kind of shape up in next after COVID lockdown is lifted, because we don't even know after lockdown is lifted and people start moving out, how it's going to behave, the virus. And so there's a lot
Okay.
of skeptical in the minds
Then
of the
we have to
people.
wait and we
Okay.
have to see actually
Yeah.
how it's going to happen.
Yeah,
So, Alan,
yeah.
you,
In the
I
meantime,
will,
I'm quite sure they must be looking at some ways, but it will take time.
So
I'm
one
saying
more.
it's going to take time. It will take it for me. It might take more than 9 months or so, for
yeah.
them to
Okay.
really
Okay.
start
Okay,
coming back.
one last thing before we actually, I think we have a time constraint. So one
Yeah.
last thing, I mean, in the last 5 to 6 years, in fact, I was working in different corporates, and everyone had this whole Vision 2020 running across for the last 10 years. Okay, so just a quick question in terms of, I mean, what would that now change to for all the SMEs? Maybe quickly in a word or sentence. I mean, what is the next thing that the SMEs should now look at? In terms of the whole vision thing, because 2020 was the biggest vision for many people when they were actually planning their whole financial and budgeting exercise. And I know of many companies who actually had a large business plan of Vision 2020, which I know of. So what would that now change to? Maybe a quick quick round between Dr. Ashish, then Ashok sir, and Gaurav sir.
So, see, from what I think is that firstly, the priorities of people, companies have changed. They didn't know what was hitting them. So their priorities have changed, and what they had planned and what they actually will be planning now is going to be very different. So whatever was planned in 2020 or 2021, I think for many of the companies which I think have been affected will not stand, and they'll have to look at different ways of doing the business. And as I said, be fast enough and quick enough to adapt to the new way of business and come back. Because see, as I mentioned earlier, also a lot of new things will start happening now. Whether it's because of jobless, a lot of people will be become like they'll be forced to become entrepreneurs because they have to survive. So a lot of new type of businesses will be coming in, and new priorities of people individually as well as organizations. They'll have to set up new priorities and new way of doing business.
Okay, Gaurav, any last thoughts and quick parting?
Yeah, I will not mince words here. It's about survival, and in fact, survival will not come easy.
Okay.
In fact, some people will need to pivot in some sense. Just to add something on the e-commerce part, there are many big companies who have not sorted the unit economics part of it. So with essentials, again, if they are able to figure it out, otherwise even those people will find it tough to. They will have to somehow. They will have to do something about this whole thing, right? But again, I think there's someone since
Someone's mic. Apurva, can you make everyone on mute, please? Someone's kid apparently doesn't like the lockdown.
Right. Kids don't like the lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's about survival and sure. It's about survival, and somebody has to take payments, right? People have to figure out new business models. That's how it is.
Okay, so I think we have I think Dr. Ashish dropped out. So I think we just 1 or 2 minutes left. So thanks a lot, Ashok sir, Gaurav sir, and Dr. Ashish. Maybe while we are grouping with whole lockdown and all, maybe that just gives some insight in terms of what is in store for us in the coming future. And I think if I take anything from this session, I think it is Ashok sir's quote that it will be the survival of the quickest. So if we are even getting into the self-employed mode or the entrepreneur mode, I think if we are quick in terms of launching anything, I think that is what is going to yield result, and that is the mantra for the SMEs, that they need to be quick on their feet to develop or to market anything. Pratik, any last question that you had? Apurva, can you mute it, please? Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Pratik, any last final thought?
Sir, I have one question here.
Yeah, Shubhendu, just a minute. I think this session will get over because Zoom automatically disconnects at 40 minutes. So just don't mind if you ask a question, but you are not getting the answer out of it. That's a sincere request. Yeah. Okay, so maybe Apurva, if you're there, can you just give them some email ID or something wherein if they have any questions, then they can just drop a mail, and then you can just coordinate with the panelists to get the same thing. Hello. Hello, Apurva. Yeah. Do we have time for one last question, or it'll get disconnected? Okay. So with that, a warm thanks to Ashok sir, Gaurav sir, and Dr. Ashish for taking time out and giving some insightful thoughts on the industry, because I think that is what the SME industry requires largely. So thanks a lot for taking time out. And thanks a lot everyone for making time for attending the forum. I hope this was useful. And please do write about, I mean, what else would you want to have the forum on, and feedback and the question if any. Okay. So
Thank you.
thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you
a
so
lot,
much.
Gaurav. Thanks a lot, Ashok. Yeah.
Thank you.
Apurva, I'm disconnecting. Huh?